Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Deep Dive. And before we get started, if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you could be notified every single time we go live on our YouTube channel, especially with the Deep Dive. I want to thank you all for your support over the past weeks and your comments on the videos. And I'm really glad you're enjoying them. So our aim really here on the Deep Dive is to give you the deep dive on a specific product, something that's maybe up and coming, something that's maybe been out for a few weeks or months, just to give you the full insight into that product so you can make an informed decision whether it's for you. Also in the coming weeks, I'm going to be combining my old hidden treasures videos, and we'll be doing some of those right here on the Deep Dive, where I'll be looking at some of the older products that came out maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. I'll be demonstrating them, talking to you about them. Hopefully we'll be able to get the creators on for an interview as well, because there's so many great effects that from years gone by that people just don't remember or don't know anymore. So anyway, on to this week's show. And this week I'm joined by a friend of mine. He's also one of the best mentalists in the world. And the trick we're going to be talking about, we're actually talking about two effects. One of them is a mentalism effect, and the other one is completely different, which is a big leap away from what he usually does. So without any further ado, let's introduce my good friend, Mr. Chris Rawlings.
Hello.
You even get a round of applause from me and everyone at home.
Thank you. There we go. Yeah, I can hear them doing it as well.
Yeah.
It's just stopped. Yeah.
So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thank you.
How are you? How's everything going?
Everything is going very well. I'm good. I am busy, working hard, trying to put out cool stuff that you'll like and everyone will enjoy, and that is, still the side hustle, I guess cool people say now. That's all accompanying just really being out there doing stuff, reading minds, memorizing things. So I'm very good. Yeah. How are you? What's going on with you? You guys are going crazy with Alakazam momentum at the moment. It's really strong.
Yeah, everything's going really well at the moment. I can't lie. Harry's smashing it on Facebook and socials and stuff like that, which is it's great. He's really sort of found his place in Alakazam, which is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Andy is Andy. He's a legend. So we've got a strong team, and everything's going the right way. But this isn't about us. This is about you. So let me ask you this: are you still out there performing? Are you still a full-time performer, or are you doing more creating now? Or
no, I am a full-time performer. I mainly do stage, and that's been that way for a long time now. But I'm still out there. I still do the odd, walk around, strolling, mind reading. I spend a lot of time thinking about magic and shuffling cards and reading old magic books. But yeah, I'm still out there performing. Everything I'm sharing and coming up with and releasing as a trick, as a product, it's really it's a thing that's on the back burner, and it takes a bit more time, I guess, for me as a one-man kind of small team. I have really good help from people. My girlfriend's a great designer, and my friends that I speak to on the phone about stuff and run things by. But full-time performer and magic producing is like a hobby. I don't know if that could be called a hobby.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, a lot of the people that I interview on the Deep Dive, they're sort of the same. It's like, you're a performer and you're usually creating because you want the product for yourself. It's that sort of, you come up with this idea, you think, oh, that would be cool. And then your mind goes down the creative route. And the first thing we're going to talk about, now this is a couple of months old, but it's a great idea. And I can see one of them sitting behind you, to be fair. Yes. Yeah. Clarity. Now, Clarity, I remember you showing me this. I think, or I don't know if you showed me it or we spoke about it quite a while ago. It might have been saying it was still in production. And this typically is something that I presume you created for your own performance. And then it
100%. I think that's true for anything of mine. So Control C clarity, the thing we're going to talk about. Anyone that's seen anything of mine over the years, even from the very first thing I did, which was a kind of like clarity but different. It's all because I've come up with it and then really done it and played around with it. And clarity was no different. It turned out kind of by accident that it became a thing I could have produced with Masuda, and then we could share it with everyone.
Yeah, and it's very, very clever. I mean, for a clipboard, I've got literally 4 or 5 electronic boards sitting right there. And electronic boards are great, but I've always been a big advocate of using the right tool for the right job. And to me, something like an electronic board, the right job is distance. It's something where you want to hand it out in the audience. You don't need to get it back. But most performing arenas, that doesn't really happen. You usually get someone up on stage, they draw something, they hold it against their chest, or you put it somewhere. You don't need those sort of boards. They've got their place and they work well in their place. But what you've created is a real-time, no electronics, and it's a very, very deceptive peak device that you could have someone draw something, they could go and put it on the table face down, they can quite clearly see that it's a non-transparent board, yet you can walk over to that table and get a full view of what they've drawn. It's very clever. And it's not privacy glass.
No, it's not privacy glass. And so clarity came from, I had a trick called Reveal, and that came from when I was at university, and I started doing mind reading. And I kind of worked out very quickly that although walk around stuff was fun, I really wanted to focus on cabaret and stage and stuff. So at the time I was at university, like I said, I didn't have much money. I was in awe of these electronic things and these expensive things. I was just starting to really buy magic as well and read books and perform, as I said. So I came up with this Reveal thing, which is really great. And it was very low tech, and it used normal paper and normal pen, all of those things. So I could do it, 1,000 times for about $5, which was a benefit to me, and exciting. And then around that time, I was also thinking about, I lectured that trick a lot. I performed it a lot, but I took it all over the place on lecture tours, America, Europe, literally everywhere I can think I've ever lectured, I've lectured that trick. And I performed it an absolute ton as well. And it always kind of stuck with me, and it's still something I'll use, like the original one. The clarity has now taken place of that. So the reason I'm saying all of that is the peak for that was a stand-up thing with an envelope, and it was very clever, and I still really like it. And when I was wanting to start working with clarity for my own kind of benefit, when Masuda was sampling these and stuff just for me, I was playing around with it in that context of a thing that someone would write on, everyone would see was opaque. I would maybe take it for a second and place it into a padded like Jiffy envelope, and then I would see it. And I don't know how you operate, but I tend to, when I'm working on things, they're always for myself. When I'm working on things, I always have them all over the place, and I'll just kind of play with them and think about them and try them out and perform them and make changes and stuff. But it gets to a point where I know the object doesn't really change. So I started playing around with the clarity board, and it was like a happy accident of a discovery that it was, let's say open, and I put it face down on the table sat in the office, and I was like, oh, I can see that. And then I got very excited and started really thinking about how I could make that go under the radar in performance. So the end result is what you see on the trailer. Someone can write and draw, put it face down, you scooch it out of the way as you pick up a marker pen or a pad or another board or whatever you want. And then you see that thing. And then the coolest part is that you can clean that up by just nudging it forward with your finger or picking it up, or as it hits the bottom of an envelope. And all of these possibilities just create, I think a trick for me or a method or a routine is good and useful if it has multiple ways that I can use that thing.
Yeah.
And it is the right tool for the right job. And this, for me, is the right tool for the stage arena, because it isn't electronic, it is reliable, it isn't going to fail. And there's none of that stress. But at the same time, I can be flexible with how I use it. Do I want it to go into an envelope? Do I want to pick it up and move it to another table? Do I want to do the face down P? Do I want to do it up here if there isn't a table? All of those things are there and in place. So I'm glad you like it, and the response has been kind of overwhelmingly positive, which is great. I think people are excited by it. It's like looking at
it's a
something
great,
in a new way.
yeah, it's a great tool, and it does the job really, really well, to the point that, you could have someone up on stage, you could have them draw it, you could ask them to hold it against their chest, and you could literally
Mm-hmm.
walk over to them, spot it, then deactivate the system, and no
Yeah,
one's any the wiser. You could do it while they're holding it if you wanted to. It's
yeah.
yeah, it's a very clever use of that principle, um, and it just makes perfect sense. And like you said, the bit of they draw it, you take it, put it in the envelope, and you're just getting a full view. Yet at any
And
moment
it's
you can
like
show the back.
it's a full view, but it almost lights up.
Yeah,
There's no electronics to it, but because of how it works and how light works, and it's going in and it's bouncing around in there almost. It literally looks like you've got a hidden battery somewhere and some little LEDs that make it pop.
yeah,
So especially when you're holding it up here and you activate it, you can't not see it. It's literally like looking at the piece of paper from the other side. So I still get that kind of smirk of a feeling inside when I do it. I just still can't believe that's a thing that exists. So Masuda obviously gets a huge shout out for that. I remember being very small, maybe 17, 16, 17 or 18, and seeing WoW for the first time and thinking like, oh, that's really cool. And I guess that sat in the back of my head. And then at some point around the time Reveal came out, I started talking about, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could make this like a big WoW? And then I just had no idea how to contact Masuda or how to have things made, or I was still really new to everything then. So I guess it was waiting for the right time where I could have nice packaging made and film good instructions and really share my experience of doing it for a good chunk of time. And I've got a good 12 years or 13 years pushing on of real stage time. So, I really don't want anything to be out there that I'm not really out there doing and trying out and making sure it really works for real people. So it all kind of lined up nicely. Clarity came out really good, and I'm super proud of it and happy with it. I'm so glad that you took some on Alakazam. It's just like I remember buying things from Alakazam when I first got into Magic. We were talking about this just before,
yeah.
So it's nice to see things like Clarity be in the shop.
Yeah, no, it's great, and the thing is, I obviously we've had a lot of creators on the deep dive, and most of them do the same thing that you do. They're performers as well as creators. Now, I'm very, very aware that there are creators that don't perform. I mean, we all know that, but I always find, as magicians, an experienced magician, we can create a trick and we will know that trick will work. We'll just know, okay, that's going to play. This is how I've got to stage it. This is where I've got to use my misdirection. We can work that all out in our head. We don't have to perform it. But until you perform it, you don't iron out the creases or jump those hurdles that you will face when you start performing a trick.
It's like almost guaranteed, right? That anything that can go wrong will at some point whilst you're trying out a new trick, a routine. And yeah, you're right. You can have, even the most experienced people can have a gauge for what will work. But just as you said, like you can't even know how it will play in terms of a reaction, having the board face down the table, in my opinion, even though it isn't the focus of how I do it, it creates a stronger response than when I use something like the original Reveal. As great as that is, I have to hold that up here. And there's this like separation between, it's on the table over there and I still know what it is. And the focus, I think, really shifts to they're thinking of it and it's in their head. And because of that, I pick up on the picture instead of, I'm handling a thing going in an envelope. So there's a big difference. And I always want to make sure that things that I share are things that I've really done and have really thought about, So Clarity obviously falls into that category, and I still enjoy doing it. Like if you have it right, so if you watch the instructions, I include a whole 10-minute act that you can do just with the board,
Right.
And I've seen certain people review it, talk about it, and when you watch that, if you do pick it up, if you pay attention to like where the emphasis is, the attention is never really on the board at all. You know, that's just a thing that's used by someone to draw a picture. And the emphasis, because of the context I put it in and how I do it and the three phases, clarity is actually the second phase of three phases in that mini app. So all of that helps to really make it look super impossible and feel really real. And I even think how it looks is disarming. You know, it looks like a piece of perspex with bulldog clip on it, because that's what it is. But obviously, we know it does more than that. It has secret hidden things built inside. But yeah, it's a fun one. I almost didn't do it. I almost just made it for myself, and then thought, that'll stay as a thing for me. And then I just got a lot of encouragement from friends, and I saw you know, when you tell someone something, like we were talking before, and you're telling me about stuff, and I can see you get excited about the idea or the project or the gimmick in some cases or whatever. You can see it in people's eyes and hear it in their voice when you tell them or show them something. Like I remember first showing you this, and your response being really positive, and you were on. There's a few people I showed this to, and everyone was like, I think a lot of them said, "Wow," which is funny.
Yeah.
And it's those reactions that encourage you to go, oh, well, maybe I should share this with people, because I thought it was just of interest to me, but maybe there's more people out there that are interested in it. And as it turns out, in this case, and wow's a fitting reaction.
It is. Well, I've got the trailer for it. So shall we drop the trailer and then we can move on to your brand new product as well? Yes. So let's take a look at the trailer for Clarity.
Hello there, I am Chris Rawlings, and I'm very, very excited to talk to you about Clarity. I understand you might have seen the original trailer and you might have some questions, and I thought this would be a good time to give you all the answers you need to make an informed choice about whether this absolute monster of a peak device is for you. What do you receive inside of the box? You receive one specially designed clipboard made by Masuda, thought of and created by me, perfectly manufactured by Masuda himself. You also received a specially gimmicked bulldog clip and mysterious black envelope, and of course video instructions that outline how to use this to the best of its ability. With the push of a button, I can now see that image perfectly. It's literally that simple. It's the push of a button. What kind of marker pens can you use? This is the one that I prefer. You can also use anything like this that resembles a Sharpie, that has a relatively thick, strong ink flow. Here's how it looks with 90 GSM paper. Here's how it looks with watercolor 190 GSM cardstock. The best part, you can have somebody write or draw an image on the board and set it face down on the table. All you do, move the board slightly. You can do this as you pick up a marker pen or pick up your own clipboard or drawing pad. And with it face down on the table, you can see with perfect clarity. This is as good as electronics at a fraction of the cost, and something that will never fail, will never break, does never ever need charging or recharging. Perfect for parlor, stage, private parties or corporate events. Big enough that it will pop to the back of a room with a few hundred people in, yet it is not so big that you can use it in a parlor situation and it doesn't feel out of place. It's literally razor thin. This is so beautifully made, so elegant, so simple, so instant. It feels like real magic. In addition to receiving the beautiful box that we've had made for this incredibly special gimmick, you will also be receiving video instructions that contain details of 3 different handlings for Clarity, how to care for the board, the history of the ideas that are incorporated within the board itself. I'll also be sharing something that I've held close to my heart for a very long time. Something that I like to call the full 10 minute. Full 10 minutes is a full 10-minute act. If you book me to do a corporate show, you will have seen me do that. If you book me to perform at your private party in your home, you will have seen me do the full 10 minutes. And that alone is worth the price of this project. We have worked extremely hard to bring you something of extremely high quality, packaged beautifully and crammed full of incredible information. I am Christopher Rawlings, and this is Clarity.
So good. So good.
Thanks.
So before we move on to your new product, with Clarity, is this a limited edition release, or is this something that people are going to be able to buy going forward?
So it's a good thing to talk about. I'm not sure. Masuda is amazing, and he has a very high standard of what he makes, and he's been a dream to work with on this. But it's very expensive to make these, and I think if I told you how much it costs to make, how many of these we made, you'd be surprised. It's expensive. So at the moment, there's no plans to make more. Masuda just surprised me the other day and told me that he'd made some extra, and he said, "Oh, there's actually a few more than I thought." So the last batch of them, I think when this goes out, they'll definitely be here. But there's not many left, and there's no immediate plans to remake them. So it's not limited. It might come back at some point. But also, Masuda's a popular guy, and he's got a lot of people all the time asking him to make stuff. So when you contact him, he won't make anything like Clarity for anyone. We have that, contractual agreement. But if someone goes to him with the new version of something to do with WoW, and he wants to make it, well, then anyone that comes after that person goes to the bottom of that queue. So even if I wanted to make more now and I contacted him, it might be 3, 4, or 5 months before he could even make those or begin to make those, and then it's a couple of months to actually make them, and then shipping and all that. So if you're interested in getting one, you should grab one. If you want to wait, you might end up missing out, but I'm not closing the door to making them again in the future. But it's a tricky one. And the truth is, I'm really happy with it, and it's just a lot of work to put. This, right? You guys put stuff out, and you know how much work it takes. And this isn't my everyday full-time job. My full-time job is being out there performing. So I do all of this in between having a life and also, trying to make things. And when you're orchestrating stuff from Masuda and then packaging from a different place and all of the import nightmares that are now, here. And then I really check every clarity. I check everything that I put out, but every time you buy a Control C, that's a box of things that I've not just sourced and stuff, but I really put together. And it's the same with Clarity. So I don't just get it out of the box and go, "Oh yeah, that looks all right," and then throw it in the box. I really take it out, put some paper on it, test it, then clean it up so it looks brand new, then put it in the box with the little envelope and all of that stuff. Yeah. So I'm really, really careful to keep a really high standard of what people receive. And all of that means it takes time. And that means that because time's not an endless resource, as it was. So yeah, there's not too many of them left. It might come back, I don't know. I'll let you a little scoop on something that will happen.
Go on.
In a book years ago called Drawing Thoughts, I put an idea with a whiteboard, and it was a very different idea. And I don't want to say too much, but thing opened up and you could see through, but it didn't work too differently from Clarity or Reveal. And only when I started playing around with this, which has been for quite some time now. I know it's only just been out a few months, but when I started playing around with it, it wasn't long before my brain went, "Oh, what if we made it into a whiteboard?" So there is a strong possibility, if me and Masuda can get it looking right and and working right, that we'll work out some kind of version that will be the same size but will look like a whiteboard and operate like one.
That will be.
So you don't need to pay for it.
Yeah, that's great. And the thing is, I totally understand what you're saying. Even with a company that you would presume is geared for manufacture, some of our products remain out of stock for years till we get round to doing them again, or whatever happens, this person doesn't make these things anymore, and so I totally understand that. But it is one of those things, if you are a mentalist or even a magician that wants to do a drawing dupe, and you don't want to fork out 1,500 quid on a clipboard, then Clarity is perfect. It's really, really good. You get a really good view. It's great. So let's move on, because we are already at 25 minutes. But
we'll keep this brief.
This is the brand new one, and this is a big leap, really, for you, because everyone knows you, even though you're a really good magician, technically, you're a great magician anyway. That's not really something that you've spoke about, you've shown off, or anything else. People just perceive you are a mentalist. So
Yeah,
your new trick is as far away from mentalism as it can
can
actually
possibly
be.
get.
So yeah, so tell us a bit about it. How did you come up with it, and what was the thinking behind it?
So I was actually on the phone to a friend of mine, and we were talking about, wouldn't it be great if we were talking about something that existed already, and that was I don't want to, you know. Anyway, so we were talking about something connected with this, and then I said, wouldn't it be great if we did that with this? And then um, started looking into like how that could possibly work, or if that could be possible to make. Even it was
Yeah,
one of those thoughts where you go, you say stuff, you're talking. I'll be on the phone to friends, I'll be on Zoom, I'll be on Skype, and we'll be. I mean, that sounds so weird to say. I'll be there with them in person as well, but I'm just thinking
yeah,
about the last few years, it's mainly been online, and you'll go, oh, wouldn't it be cool if, and you say something, and then a lot of the time, the thing you come out with, you don't think about like, how you could possibly do it. Anyway, so started exploring that. As you can tell from like the way Clarity came out, I've managed to make a really good contact who can make things really well. He made the packaging for Clarity, and it turns out that he can also do other stuff. So actually started with someone else who was recommended through a friend, and I started trying to get this sampled, and I had a bunch of help with it as well, of course. And as time went on, it seemed like it was possible, then not possible, then it kind of diminished and fizzled out. And
yeah,
then I switched to a different manufacturer, and what I did was send him early samples that had been made by this other person who got to a point with it where like it was okay, but it wasn't anywhere close to the standard it needed to be, sort of thing. And then this guy who made the beautiful box for Clarity gave it a go, and then I mean it took him another 4 or 5 rounds of samples, and
right,
Pete, how long that takes, right? Like
yeah,
it's not like you knock out a sample in an afternoon. It can be a month to do a sample, and then it's
yeah,
another. So I have a box full of what these things are here in the office that go from like the very first one that arrived in the post or via FedEx, and then right through to the actual ones that people are now playing around with or about to receive. So it's been a long time coming. It's a very different thing that I'm, like you said, it's so far away from what I'm used to, but I do love magic. I've performed magic, since I was very little. I'm always thinking about magic. And this was one of those things that just couldn't not follow through on it. I think it's too useful of a tool. I think it's too fun to have with you at all times. I think you really can carry it around. I think it's really the definition of organic magic in terms of and you can really just carry this around with your normal things, and you won't even notice it's there. And then if someone goes, "Hey, can you do something?" You can do a really visual piece of magic.
yeah.
And then if you really want to elevate that, you can start doing the stuff I talk about on the trailer. So I'm trying to speak in code here because I'm not sure
I
when
know
people will see this.
we're going to play the trailer in a moment, but I know over the years I have come up with ideas for gimmicks using the item that your gimmick is made from, and they have always been notoriously difficult to gimmick.
Mm.
It's like I've
It's like
gone
a
to
nightmare, isn't it?
engineers. Yeah, I've gone to engineers, spoke to them, and I went, no, it's not something we can do. And these are good guys. So when you showed me it, I was quite amazed how good it looks and how well it actually functions. Um, yeah, so it's great. I think we should play the trailer because we spoke in code for a long time, and then we'll
Yeah,
come back and we'll have a little chat about it.
perfect.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Hider Key.
This is an unusual one for me. Probably know me for my contribution to the world of mentalism. This marks my very first piece of magic. Hide a key will allow you to vanish a key right in front of your spectator's eyes in an incredibly visual and impossible way. I've taken a classic of magic that would normally be made using coins. It travels around with you, ready to go at any second's notice. Just add the hide a key system to your home keys and you are ready to go. Make the key vanish and appear on their shoulder, under their watch, under their drink, on the table, behind them, under the doormat, wherever you want it to appear, it will appear. This could not be more organic. This could not be more natural. This could not be more real world. The hide a key instructions are really comprehensive. There are many different handlings taught on the project, handlings in the spectator's hand, handlings in your hand, alongside all of the routines taught right here in the studio in great detail. You'll be seeing live performances of the routines taught out there in the real world, in coffee shops, in bars, in real situations with real people. And as if that wasn't enough, as part of the instructions, I've sat down with professional genius magician Noel Walter to talk over hide a key and to cover even more possibilities. You receive both very special keys, precision made, expertly manufactured and beautifully packaged, ready to go right out the box. Core piece of hide a key is literally 2 millimeters thin. I don't want to say too much on video about what hide a key really is, but if this were a turtle, this key, it would have and that's almost what we're working with. You can make 3 keys become 2. You can have 4 keys become 3. Or you can have 2 keys become 1. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at the rest of this video to see just how good hide a key looks. We have worked really hard to remake this again and again and again to make it thinner and fit better and look better and have more detail. And I am so excited for you to have it. I can't wait for you to start using it. This is hide a key.
That is so cool.
There it is.
Really cool. Really cool.
Thanks.
So when you buy the effects, obviously you're getting the custom precision gimmicks, but you're also getting the full tutorial. And what you were saying there, you go over various routines and handlings with it, and it's one of those tricks really that I think you're going to come up with. If you buy it, you're going to come up with lots of different routines yourself.
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's, I'm trying to be modest with this one because I'm not a coin magician. I know a bit about coin magic, and I think I know enough for what I do, but and I know a lot about magic, I think. But with this, I know that people will buy this, start playing around with it, and run with it. I've already got people that are saying to me, literally got people asking me like when they can get one because I've showed it to them.
Yeah.
And I know that people will come up with all sorts of amazing things with it that I couldn't imagine because it's so different to what I'm used to. In my head, you make it vanish, you switch focus, and you make it appear on the table or under the doormat or under their watch or on the shoulder or in their pocket, or you put it wherever you can beforehand, and then you make a thing vanish that was never really there, and then you make them think it's appeared somewhere. So it's kind of as old school magic as we get, but that's really where the focus is on the instructions. We show like ways to do it there's one on there that's to camera. It's like how to do this for social media, and I'm bringing in. Well, I've brought in. Excuse me, I say bringing in, but friends of mine. So Noel is you know him. Everyone knows him. He's very clever. He's done a lot of amazing stuff for TV. But aside from that, he's just a very clever performer. So he's known about this for ages, and he sat down with me and we just brainstormed over, little details you can add to this to make it even more fooling, like putting things on the keys, writing stickers, stuff like that, and also just handling tips and really is like a brainstorm session. It's the kind of thing that I know you have all the time with your team, right? It's the kind of thing I have with friends on the phone all the time, and it's the kind of thing you don't normally get an inside peek at. So I thought it'd be interesting to include that too. And then the performances, you see in not just me, but I'll leave it as a surprise for when people buy it. But you'll see like cool people on there really out there doing it. And we just went out and did it for a bunch of people, like a day in London, and it was a lot of fun. So this is a kind of playful, fun thing that I think people will really, you can use it online. It's universal, right? So money is kind of, we live in Manchester here, and like all the coffee shops and restaurants and stuff we go into, for the most part, just accept Apple Pay or card now. So I'm not saying Coin Magic will go, because it won't, and it will always have a place, and it's its own kind of special thing of magic. But money is kind of diminishing. Like our paper money is now plastic. Coins aren't really seen so much. So I just wanted to make this in a universal way that if in a few years' time, even in 10 years' time, if we get rid of money, then you can still make a key vanish, because you're always going to need your keys. And but I think I imagine Harry would take this, not just make a great video on the YouTube channel for it, but also it could be a great thing for Instagram. It could be a great thing to just be out there gigging. It's also a great, it's rare you find, right, a quick piece of magic. I'm so used to like talking so much when I do stuff, because I'm doing mind reading and I'm memorizing things, and so kind of fun for me to have something that I can just do in 2 seconds, and then you don't even have to make it reappear. You can just 3 keys, 2 keys. That's weird. Yeah. And then carry on your conversation over here, and it's it's just an unusual, surprising piece of magic.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting here thinking, actually, as I was watching the trailer, and even to have it as part of a bigger routine, if you were doing, let's say, a parlor set, and I know that, I speak to Jamie Dawes a lot, and we talk about, bizarre magic, and I love horror films, I love creepy stories, and I, sometimes come up with stories for Jamie, or, the story for the collector and things like that. To hand someone a little bunch of keys with 3 keys on it, saying one of them belong to the serial killer, I've got it on a chain because apparently he still uses the key to enter this box or whatever. They've got hold of the keys, and now when I open their hand, the key that belonged to him has now vanished in their hand, and then now the box is open and this. So even, to use it as a piece of a bigger presentation, you've got this beautiful piece of magic happening in your spectator's hand of a key vanishing. Now, why that key vanished could be any reason you want. I mean, my mind's already going, as soon as I was watching that trailer, I was thinking, it's great as a close-up piece, but to do something like that for a bigger routine, and that's one of the moments of magic that's happening, that's really powerful. And it will be so easy to build a story around it. Really.
Yeah, for sure. There's also, there's things hinted at and talked about on there where I think it's interesting, right, to use it in the way I'm about to say, but it's not my favorite. But like, if you have a keychain, so here it is, but if you have a keychain this is like a quick release one, but if you were to have a keychain, it's just a hoop, you can actually, they're really finicky to get your keys off.
Yeah.
You can actually make it look like you have 3 keys, and then if you, have something ready, you can show 3, come up and look like you just pull it off. And it seems like impossibly it comes off the keychain. Like little novel uses like that are also kind of interesting. And I think there's so many magicians out there that have used this type of thing with a coin before that will just run with this idea. The other nice thing that I've, stuff that organically kind of grows and develops. The keychain, like it began with, it's going to be a key, it's going to be on a quick release keychain, you'll take it off, do a piece of magic in your hands. And then with the keychain, you can do all of that, like placing it in their hands, and whilst it's moving in the air, you can't perceive the difference, and it is still there and then not there and stuff, and then when it comes out of the hand, it's gone. And the keychain actually keeps those things together, so now you don't have to carry these things separately, if you get what I mean. So it kind of neatly travels around. It is literally, I know my face will probably stop the autofocus from there. Oh, there we go. So that's it. It's super thin. It blends in so well with your real keys. And whatever keychain you put it on, you can really carry it around, and it's just ready to go whenever. I think it's an exciting one, and it feels very much like a one. It's been a work in progress for a long time, and there's a lot of thought gone into the vanishes and using it on different keychains and off the keychain and how you load it in certain places and stuff. But I think there's still a whole chunk of magic with it to be discovered, and I'm quite excited to see what people do with it. I love it when someone comes up to me at a convention and says, "Oh, I've been using your Control C, or I've used Reveal for a while, or I've used Clarity," and then they tell me how they use it, and I go, "Oh, that's really great. Thanks for telling me about that." And it makes me go like, "Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way." So I think that'll happen a lot with Heideki.
Oh, 100%. It is. It's like it's like handing someone a coin unique. Everyone's going to have their own routine for it. It's just a beautiful way of vanishing a key. Now, what you want to do with that key, whether you want it to appear somewhere, or whether it is part of a bigger story and the key just vanished, it could be a haunted story or whatever it is. It's just a wonderful way of doing it. And I think you're right, I think people will get it and they'll run in their own directions with it, because it's giving them, I mean, if someone said to me now, vanish a key off a key ring, come up with a method, it's quite a hard thing to do with what we have with us at the moment. It's not something that's generally sort of out there, whereas now you can do it. The key is, you've got to remember the impossibility as well. The key is on this chain. It's like
this is the thing as well. In a way it makes, you can have it as well. So I have it. The key that vanishes for me is always the middle key. So let me stand up and you'll get the focus on this a little better.
Yeah, perfect.
There we go. So that middle key actually has this like waffle pattern on as well. But the fact that it's in the middle before you do this and then this, and now you can show it as like it's gone. And then look how it appears in my top pocket up here, or wherever that appears. It's not just on a keychain, but it's in the middle of two other keys. So how could you get that off the chain, but also how could you, or the key ring, sorry, but then also how without getting the other two keys off? And the fact that it's visual, but you can also do it in the hands. I still get excited playing around with it and doing it. So, load it wherever you feel you can. And then I tell you what's great is under the doormat. It takes you don't need to load it under someone's watch or on their shoulder or in their pocket or anything. You just make it vanish, and then it appears on the other side of the room or outside your house door under the doormat. Yeah. So you know what happens? I got this weird front door key. How many? Three keys, observation test, hold on to it. Think about my front door key. It just it can't really be that far away from look, open your hand, 2 keys. Come with me, I'll show you. The response even that gets is kind of shocking, and it's it's done in a playful kind of framework. So you've made something stand out in my brain that I want to say as well. So that, because I have tried to make the trailer the same with Clarity, and trying to be as transparent as possible. If someone stumbled on that on YouTube somehow, then I don't think they're going to have the full picture. With Clarity, maybe I was a little, I've had friends of mine say to me, it's almost like a tutorial, the Clarity trailer, but that's because I want people that buy it to know what they're buying, and to, to trust me to tell them what something is and what it isn't. So initially, Heideki was going to be a locking key. Yeah. And I'll speak a little bit in code. And then we found out that was like not a bad idea, but it wasn't as useful as you might first think. No. And the reason was that you would bring this out of your pocket, and the get ready, if you really are walking around with this is Heideki. If you're walking around with this on your keychain, it's in your pocket, and you bring it out of your pocket, and you've then got to do the get ready. And if it were locking, it means it probably has to have those things that attract each other. And now we're just speaking in comedic code that anyone can understand. But so so then, right, if that's the case, you've got to get ready, and then you've got to hold it ready, which is like this is my favorite way to show the 3 keys is like this on my hand. It's a little awkward of an angle. The camera's high up, but this is how I would hold something in my hand if I was showing it. And then I take grab of the keychain. And if you've got to do that get ready because it locks, then that becomes kind of troublesome because you can be talking, say you're doing this with a friend, you're talking to a friend in a coffee shop, and you're kind of fidgeting around with the keys down here, and they're probably thinking like, what's happening? And it all looks a bit strange. So I think one of the biggest questions people will have before buying this is, does it lock? Which is funny because it's a key. It doesn't lock. The reason is the get ready is, let me show you what this looks like. So this is in my pocket. You reach in, I grab the keychain, bring out the keys, and I put it on my hand. And the get ready is just as I spread the keys in my hand. Instead of having to bring it out, do this, or have a thing that pulls those layers apart. So it facilitates the ability to make a key vanish and reappear, but it also just makes the handling really easy. But most importantly, and I didn't think about this at the time of having the idea of like this should exist. It was initially going to lock, and then we changed that because it actually it was counterintuitive to make it do that. So I just want people to know that.
Yeah, I think if you have it locking, then it's only good for one thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, locking's great. A coin unique's great, but you can't do hopping halves with it. You can't do hopping halves with, and that's the thing. I think by not having it locking, you're allowing the gimmick itself to be used in so many different ways, whether it be a clean production, whether it be a clean vanish. It allows you to get more out of it. I think you made 100% you made the right choice. Otherwise you are limited to there's 3 keys, one of them's gone, and that's really the end of it.
And on coins, it's not that it's easy because it's all very. I'm amazed by coin unique is a thing I used to have as a kid as well when I was like 12, 13. Amazingly, I used to do the swirl away thing under the glass that you'd spin around. I remember doing that my first ever gig when I was literally 12. I think it was like a family wedding, 13. Great reactions. It's really fooling. People want to pick it up. They want to grab it. They want to look at it. With a coin, it's possible to hide those joins and stuff because it's circular because you have the coin pattern. On a key, it's much harder to do that. So the other logic behind it not locking was that even if it did, you would still be able to perceive that there's some kind of join or 2 things going together. So with it being the way it is, all the focus and attention, it's like with clarity, weirdly. Everything is happening because I can somehow see what they've drawn, but all of my attention and focus is on the person, not the object. And just like this, as soon as it vanishes, all the attention is on where it appears.
On the reveal.
So they never want to look at it. They don't want to examine it. They don't care about the key ring. They want to find out if it really is under their watch or if it really is under their drink, if they're really sat on it or something,
Yeah. And that's the thing with any good magic like that. The moment happens, for a split second they're looking here, they just got to register that it's gone, but now the focus is shift onto where it is, and that's the magical moment. The magical moment is it reappearing, not so much as vanishing. They've already triggered that's already there, they understand it, but now it's like, but how impossible would this be if it's under the mat you're standing on? And then now it's oh my God, hold them. These are now out the way. That bit's done. And that's what's very clever about this type of gimmick. But that's brilliant. It really good. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk more about it. Apologies for this going on so long. I'll take full responsibility for that.
We're at nearly an hour, I think.
Wow.
And we spoke for nearly an hour beforehand.
We did. I know, yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. But anyone that picks it up, thank you. I'm excited for you to have it. And I think you really will have a load of fun with it. You know, you can do it to yourself in the mirror, and it's kind of amazingly visual anyway. So go out and do it for real people, and I think you can. You know, they'll think next you'll be making them disappear. Maybe this is the answer to that question we all get asked of: can you make him disappear or her? You know, like that stupid thing that everyone says to you when you're strolling around. I love it.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us on the deep dive. And no doubt we'll see you very soon with another amazing Chris Rawlings release. So thank you, Chris, for joining us.
Thank you, Pete.
Right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we have got another deep dive. But make sure you check out Chris Rawlings' Clarity and Hide a Key, both fantastic products by a fantastic creator. And remember, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell, and that will keep you informed every time a new video goes live. And that's it for me for this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on The Deep Dive.